Emotional intelligence is something that you absolutely want to strive for. You've heard of IQ? Well, this is EQ. And the beautiful thing is IQ, you can't necessarily change. EQ, you absolutely can. And to have emotional maturity is going to go hand in hand with a secure attachment. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to episode 109 of the Positivity Experience, Understanding Emotional Intelligence. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to episode 109 of the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori. I want to give a massive shout out to all of the newest Patreon subscribers. And on Patreon today, we are talking about attachment styles, and you'll see why that's relevant. I try to always pair that one with this one so it can you can see how it leads into other things. And the beautiful thing is this is going to align greatly with a secure attachment style. So if you're wondering what your attachment style is, or you know what it is, and also over there, you're going to have a little worksheet with it in the Patreon. If that's your jam, you can go to patreon.com/the Positivity Experience, or you can just click the little link that'll take you out there to it. But that's what we're talking about today. And I really am so excited about this because emotional intelligence is a massive piece to my practice. And it took me a really long time to get there. Oh my God. I was so not emotionally intelligent. This has nothing to do, by the way, with book smarts. So don't go, but I'm so smart. This has nothing to do with that, right? Because when you hear intelligence and you hear somebody go, well, you're not emotionally intelligent. You go, but I am smart. No, I need you to stop getting into it that way. But I'm going to give you here's the short version, and then we're going to unbox it, right? So when you have emotional intelligence, you're able to manage your own emotions. So this is emotional regulation. You're also able to understand that your emotions are yours to process, and that, being aware that my emotions drives my behavior, and my behavior can affect somebody positively or negatively. So do you see how you're not living in the id part of your ego here? You're not like, well, this is just what I went through. Like we were talking about victim mentality last week. And there's a reason I put this here, but you're like, well, this is what happened, da, 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 da. But you have to realize your emotions. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but let's say, and like I said, God knows, I've definitely haven't been emotionally intelligent all my life and been in a victim mentality and everything like we were talking about. And when you're in that space, you don't realize how draining you are to other people, right? So don't judge yourself. I'm saying you don't realize it. So when you're emotionally intelligent, you realize that your effect. So have you ever been in a room and somebody's constantly negative, constantly complaining, constantly fear of something? Do you ever just go, oh my God, this is so heavy? You could be fine and you walk in there and you're like, oh God, this is too much. Or if you say, okay, I got to gear myself up to call my mom. It's going to be a problem. She's going to tell me all of her issues over and over again. Do you know how you have to gear yourself up? Well, that's how somebody who is not, within their emotions, and you're not perfect. People are not always going to be emotionally intelligent. But once you get there, you're not going to want to leave there. And it does take time. And emotional intelligence goes hand in hand with secure attachment. Okay. And again, if you want to know more of that, you can just pop over to Patreon. But secure attachment is a great place to live, and it comes in there. So this is where, and I don't like the word motivation, so I'm going to use the word inspiration, but this is where you don't need the external inspiration or the external motivation. You don't need that. It's always good to have it, but you don't necessarily need it because you have that internal, I don't want to call it self-discipline, right? Because that could be well, I'm not self-disciplined, and now you're looking for all these excuses. No, it's more or less okay, what do I need to do? I know I don't have to feel like doing it. What do I want to learn? What do I want to learn? And I was just talking about this over on the attachment style podcast is I am so good within the emotional intelligence. When I walk into a room, unless you're hiring me to do a speaking engagement where I'm supposed to have some knowledge, right? I would hope I would have a good amount of knowledge there, and I usually do. But if I'm not there for that and I'm going into another room, I want to know the least. I want to learn. I want to constantly absorb. I'm always not trying to fix. Did you hear what I said? I'm not trying to fix myself. I'm trying to learn more about myself. I'm trying to learn more of the things that are going to improve me as a human being for myself, in turn for other people. That is emotional intelligence. You don't need to walk into a room knowing everything. You don't need to fix yourself because you're not a broken person. You're a little scattered, but you're not broken. Okay. You have empathy. You have empathy of yourself. You're socially aware of things, This is not to be confused with, well, I have social anxiety, and that has nothing to do with this emotional intelligence piece of it. Though when you get emotional intelligence and over a period of time, and it does take work, and with that is going to be doing a lot of self-work. It is not fast. It probably took me, if I'm being honest, 26 years or so to get there. And I've just recently gotten there, right? So just a few years back, like maybe 8 to 10 years back. So yeah, it took me years of learning, years of trying to figure out my attachments, years of not being a victim, years of that. So if you're not willing to do it, that's how you know, because when you have emotional intelligence, you know that this is going to come with time, right? And you know you're emotionally intelligent when you're strongly aware of your self-acceptance and your self-awareness. You're self-aware of things. I didn't say you're perfect. Do not, when you're not perfect, now you know that you're emotionally intelligent, right? So and we're going to call it EQ so you can know, right? And like I said, your EQ, that can but easily be learned, right? And you understand yourself. See, when you're emotionally intelligent, it's not about anybody else. It's not about, well, I understand this person's a jerk. No. It's understanding you. It's understanding what makes you tick. You know your strengths and you play into your weaknesses and you love your weaknesses. You're super duper confident about what you can contribute, and you're also confident in what you still need to learn. And you're solid with your emotions. You can identify your emotions, good, bad, sad, happy. You identify them, but you don't wallow in them. And so I want to go back to this strength and weakness thing, right? And I'll give you an example. So you know how I am with my 5 journals. It's a huge thing. You want to know what I'm talking about? Go to my YouTube, find the 5 journal series. And I know me, and I know I have 13 steps in between downstairs and upstairs. And I know that if I am upstairs, I've said this before, I am going to find a reason why I got to wait to come downstairs to grab my journal if I need to journal in it, or if I choose to journal in it. So I know that that's a weakness of mine. I know that if I don't fold the laundry, when I do fold the laundry, because it can sit in the dryer. When I do fold the laundry, if I don't put it away, it's just going to sit. It's just going to sit in a corner. So I know my weakness is let's not call it a weakness. Let's call it a challenge. Some of that's my ADHD. Some of that is me just not wanting to. Sometimes it doesn't have to be any special diagnosis. Sometimes you can be an inner brat. Your inner brat can come out and go, I don't want to do it. So I know emotionally that if I don't do it, it's going to become a problem for myself, nobody else. So my actions are not just affecting everybody in the house. They're affecting myself, my own mental health. So if you know that you never get up on time, or when you do get up, you're running out of the house, then play into what that weakness is. Play into that challenge. Get your stuff ready the night before. Iron your clothes for the week. Do you need to go grocery shopping? Make yourself a pot of food. Do you know that after work, you're going to come home with this big aspiration of cooking this big dinner, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to walk in the house and feel less inclined to do that. So you're going to grab yourself a burger on the way home. Well, don't just go, well, this is just how I am. Then you lean into that. You feed the challenge, not because the challenge is going to go away, but you take the decision fatigue away from what that challenge is. So when you have that EQ, you understand what part of your area you're still working on, what part is just sometimes it's just a character. Sometimes it's a characteristic, or it's just something it doesn't have to be over the top all the time. And so let me give you a little feedback so you know what you're dealing with when you're dealing with EQ. Okay? You're carving out that time for yourself. You are leaning in because now you have a better understanding of who you are on a deeper level. You're leaning in. You're getting all of your blood work done. You're going to every doctor that you need to go through to. You're not scrolling on social media 24/7. You're not on there a long period of time. You're not avoiding yourself, right? Again, it's not overnight. So I'm just giving it so you know what you're looking for. Okay. You're not ignoring the negative. You're not acting like everything is sunshine and roses. You just know that when the negative or something that's not planned comes, you're going to be okay, because you're going to be able to say, okay, can I solve this? I cannot. It's literally impossible to solve. I cannot change it. Then we're going to do radical acceptance. You accept that you can't change it. You can journal why it's annoying that you can't, right? But you're not living in it. Okay. You're also watching your actions, but you're not sacrificing who you are. Okay. So I know that if I'm going to go to a church service, like if I'm going to do a church thing, which I mean, I don't really do, but if I was going to do a church thing, I still might say damn and hell. I'm just going to try really hard not to say the F word, really hard, because it's a normal part of my vernacular and I'm okay with it. So I would be aware of that, but I'm still not going to alter who I am. I'm not going to be less aggressive, or I'm not going to be less to the point or harsh or whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to do that just because I'm in church. I'm going to be mindful, but I'm not going to alter. Okay. If I have an opinion on something, I'm going to question myself. I'm not just going to take it as the gospel. Well, this is my opinion. Until I at least analyze it and go, okay, well, let me see. Let me give you an example on that. I know that my opinion, this is for me, is that I think love is love, and I think everybody should just love, peace, love, and happiness, and whatever makes you happy, we're good. I analyze that and go, okay, why do I believe that? Well, because I fully believe that everybody is deserving of love, and love doesn't have a special shape, size, or smell. And I questioned that and I said, yes, I believe this. This really aligns with me. And this may sound silly, but I think this is even kind of like a litmus test too, is if I'm just now dating somebody, I mean, I'm married, but if I'm just now dating somebody and we go to the grocery store and you leave your cart not in the corral, I don't have any time for you. Because my opinion to that, and I've researched it in myself, is if you feel as though someone should pick up behind you, or you feel entitled that the person, quote unquote, beneath you has to put your cart away, then I already know that that's not going to work for me, right? So you have to be clear in your beliefs and understand why you have them. And it's more opinions than it is beliefs. And you accept, now here's the piece, you accept that it's a lifelong process. You accept it's not fast. You accept that you will slide backwards. You accept that you will have more tools that you have to learn. You will accept that you will never know everything. You accept that if you don't show up for yourself, no one else needs to, and no one else will. Okay, so this is where you start operating with integrity. I'm very integrous. That's why if I were to ever put a sponsor on here, or if I ever promote something, you better damn well believe that I am either using it, have used it, or believe in it. I'm not just going to do it because you pay me. Even if you're like, here's $10,000, I need you to promote something like that I wouldn't believe in. I'm not doing it because I have integrity within myself. Okay. I'm self-aware and I'm aware of my feelings. So to be aware of your feelings is to know how to feel them in your body. What does it look like? Where is that in your brain? What's happening here in your body? And this is where mindfulness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. You are present-minded. You are present-focused. Great to have goals. Great to goal towards these goals. Great to have a strategy. Great to know what you're looking for. But you're not putting your worth or how amazing you are based on that outcome. You're not married to the outcome, and you're present focused. What can I do now? What do I need to do now? So instead of doing a vision board and having a big house on it, having, all the money in the bank, having this amazing relationship and these great cars, instead of that, you're putting the steps that you need to take. So maybe if you wanted, let's say exercising, right? Let's say you put this body type, some imaginary body type that you think that you want. Well, that can be discouraging. If you look and you go, I have X amount of pounds to lose, and on your little vision board, you put, I want to be this size, and you put that there, how is that going to be motivating for you? How is that going to be inspirational for you? It's going to make you feel worse about yourself. So that may be your end goal. You can write that down somewhere, but don't start putting pictures of people on there. Maybe you take a tag. Maybe you're a size X, whatever size that is. And you'd like to go down 4 sizes. You don't put 4 sizes down there. You put the next one on there. That's why I like to revamp my vision board every 3 months, personally. Because I may have met some may be way out of control. I may be like, wow, that was way outlandish, or it's really not that important to me. That's why you always want to be there. And when you have emotional intelligence, you're not, well, if I don't do this, I'm a failure. No, if you don't do that, maybe it's just not your jam. You're more flexible. You're able to go with the flow, and you're able to understand that all those days are not going to be great. They're not going to be great. Okay. And so I think when you get to that space, it's going to really help you. Now, another part of emotional intelligence is being able to execute your boundaries. Nope. Just saying nope. Like, you don't give all of these things. Now, I can share my feelings with you if I feel like, wow, this really hurt my feelings, and this is how I feel. That doesn't mean I need you to change it. I'm just letting you know what I feel. I don't need you to negate what you did, or, oh my God, I'm so sorry, or it's fine. I'm just letting you know how I feel, but I don't need you to coddle me to make me feel better. Okay. And being able to have empathy for other people. Empathy is not the same as coddling. Empathy is like, wow, man, I am so here for you. And I have that with all my clients, but I'm not going to drag them along. I'm not going to, oh, do this, or you're not gonna be happy. Do this, or you're not gonna be happy, because now I'm in my ego. And so you have to understand that emotional intelligence is not a trait, it's a skill. As with any skill, that can be developed. And so, when you have that self-management, I know that if I don't do something, I know the outcome. I know where my avoidance is with certain things. So I have to manage that. I don't have to be over the top. I need to motivate myself, and I need to do all of these things. And no. So it's just a set of competencies, a set of skills that, like anything else, is learned and practiced and practiced and practiced some more. But if you don't know how your emotions are, and your emotional regulation is not great, and you're not able to utilize your own self to help attain your goals, that you're struggling a little bit with poor emotional intelligence. And guess what? It can be I don't want to say fixed. It can be learned. It can be harnessed. It can be honed, but you've got to be willing to do the work. And with that, like I just said, it's a lifelong process. Lifelong process. And so when you're in that space, because these sort of all go hand in hand, there's no such thing as like, well, I'm going to feel confident and then I'm going to go do stuff. No, you're going to do stuff. You're going to fall. You're going to fail. You're going to get up several times. Now we have some self-confidence. As you develop self-confidence, you start not being as codependent, or codependent and attachment's a little bit different, but like neither one of those. You're not in either one of those anymore. Now we're starting to harness and we're starting to learn secure attachment. You're starting to learn EQ. But do you see how they're all interconnected? You don't get to say, well, I'm going to do this, and it's never external. Okay. So I really need you to understand that managing your emotions, which is the highest level of emotional intelligence. I didn't say stopping your emotions. I didn't say running from your emotions. I said managing your emotions. That's really what I teach people. And it took me a long time to learn it myself. And I practice it all the time. And I'll be 52 in a couple months. They say you don't even really start to reach like your maximum potential till you're 60. So I still have space to grow, and I still will. And it's like, it peaks around that time. Then of course, then sometimes your mind starts to not disintegrate. God, that made you sound old after 60. After 60, your mind just disintegrates. I didn't mean it that way, but like, you may start to have some atrophy. But honestly, as you're practicing your emotional intelligence, as you're practicing these things, it really does help prolong the longevity of your mind. And that you're starting to get there when you're able to embrace change. I freaking love change. I love change because it gives me a whole new insight to start over, start something fresh, learn something new. I don't want to just stay in the comfort zone all the time. Nothing grows there. Balance, work and play balance. I work and play and I have balance. Somebody said, oh my God, you look like you're always busy. I am busy, but I'm very scheduled with my work time, and I'm very scheduled with my personal time. And when I'm done, I'm done. It's also a big piece of that emotional intelligence is being able to give and not expecting anything in return. Not expecting it. The moment I start with my negative self-talk, I just neutralize it. I just go, you know what? You're doing that thing. So let's process it. This is just an old thought pattern and an old belief system. But if I'm doing something, I'm not going to expect you to do it in return for me. It's just not. I'm just here. I'm kind. I'm just going to do it because, I'm still going to protect my boundaries. I'm not going to change who I am. And I'm not going to dwell on the past. If you're dwelling on the past, you're lacking, you have poor emotional intelligence. And it can be learned. You have to realize that you are deserving. You are deserving. And I think that's an important factor of you. And it's funny, like you ever find somebody who, and I've said this to my clients, and I definitely carry this, when I was in dating world, there's a level of people can feel intimidated. By the way, that's not you being intimidating. That's people feeling intimidated. That has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with them because they're in a space of poor EQ, right? But think about when you have emotional intelligence, right? I can identify my own emotions and in others. That's why I'm good at my job. But I can utilize it and go, what is my emotions trying to tell me? Where am I feeling this in the body? What do I need to do to allow myself to feel it and to manage it? And I promise you, it's going to come with sincerity. So when you're sincere and you're honest, like really honest, hey, I'm having a crappy day. Right? I'm not putting it on you. I don't need to put it on you. I don't need somebody to fix it for me. I'm just being honest. And again, you also know the difference between being honest and seeping into that victimization, right? Very, very self-aware. Yes, I'm empathetic, but I'm not going to allow myself to be drawn in to you. Does that make sense? So that goes into the boundary. I love my job because I get to care for people. I get to watch them go from a place of poor emotional intelligence to great, to good, to no such thing as perfect. I get to watch that transition. That is the most beneficial thing in my entire practice. That is my why. Okay. And I think that, when you are in a space of people who don't want to know that it's up to them to take care of it will go, well, that's not real. I mean, it's just kind of like whatever. Well, of course, because it's not feeding into your narrative. It's the same reason people go to 64 doctors before they try to find one that goes, and you're right. And they go, see? Well, no, that's not emotional intelligence because you know that you still have things to work on. You know that it's yours to kind of like harness, and you can take the criticism. You take it and you realize, listen, other people's judgment has more to do with them than it ever does with you. And so, you're aware of that. You're not judging another person. Okay. So really think about that. You're not judging a person. You might say, this doesn't work for me. I don't believe in that, or this doesn't align with me. And I'm going to distance myself, or, I'm going to set this boundary. That's beautiful. That's emotional intelligence. It's not saying that you just have to subscribe to everybody. Like, I'm going to subscribe to you guys. Like, oh, mom, I'm subscribing to you. Like anything you say, I'm going to subscribe to everything you tell me to, or, I'm going to subscribe to everything that the church says, or I'm going to say, you don't have to do that, but you're able to take a criticism. And if somebody doesn't return a text message to you, you're not like going off the deep end because they didn't respond to you right away, or they didn't give you the answer on what you sought. Right? You're aware that everybody is going on their own journey. And a good way to, and again, it's not for you to walk around and tell everybody, hey, you're not emotionally intelligent. No, then you're kind of a jerk. But like a good way to know that people, so you kind of know, because when people aren't in that, they are still dealing with their own stuff. So it gives you a place to be empathetic. But if they always have to be right, see, you can be right all day long. You can tell me anything. And if I try to have a conversation with you and I can see pretty quickly that you have to be right, I'm going to let you be right. because I don't need to win. But if you're struggling with some poor emotional intelligence, then that's what's happening. Okay. And that's where the blame comes in. That's where the poor coping skills come in. That's where those emotional outbursts like just come out of nowhere. Or they turn the conversations into themselves. And what I mean by that is you call your mom and you tell your mom, oh, Mom, you know what's really weird? I got out of bed this morning and like my right knee is really bothering me after I went to the gym. And she says, yeah, you know what's funny? My right knee was bothering me last week too. And you're like, so like, and like, why are you telling me this? I didn't ask you about your knee. I'm telling you about my knee. So when people, now it's different if I'm telling you something and I'm explaining to you my experience, but I don't need it to be all about, well, what was you? I'm so sorry about your knee. How's your knee? Like you don't need to call me to tell me about your knee. And 5 minutes later, you're comforting me and telling me I need to go to the doctors for my knee when you were calling me about your knee. So it's one thing to relate and put your stuff out there and say, hey, this is how I relate and this is how it worked for me. That's different. That's helpful. But you can find that people aren't in that space if let's say you're playing a game with somebody. You're playing Monopoly. I don't know. There's like 6 of you playing Monopoly. And I don't know, like 5 of you are really vibing. You're really talking. You're really you're buying property and all that stuff. And then that 1/6 person, and let's say you're the person who has the poor skills in that, right? You haven't learned them yet. And all of a sudden you're like, well, but what about me? Like I'm good at this game too. Like I can do it too. Like, why didn't you pick me to be the dog? Or, whoa, no, we're not doing that. So you're aware that you don't have to be included in on everything. Everybody doesn't have to treat you kind, but like everybody doesn't have to have the same friend group. Everybody doesn't need to roll in the same circles. And you're aware that everybody has their own level of what brings them joy. And you're not trying to change it. So, you can get there. I promise you can get there. And when you have it, and it's what I say it all the time, when you have it and you start developing it, you will find that people will start thinking that your self-confidence is arrogance, and that is not yours to process. You will start to embrace change. You'll be like, oh my God, I'm so excited. You're curious. You're like, oh, I want to learn more. You made a mistake. You go, whoops, my bad. Sorry. I totally did that. You're not making excuses. Well, I did it because I didn't have enough sleep. And then, I was late because I got up too late. Okay. Why are we giving a thesis? Just, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was late, man. I totally screwed up. Own it. And you know what? It happened. Mistakes come and go. It is what it is. You let it go. But again, you're able to say, what is my emotional response? What is this telling me? You're able to understand if you're frustrated with something, you can articulate it without pushing blame, without blaming someone, and without coddling yourself, and without holding in your emotions. So, and that's like, how sometimes you respond like with no filter? Well, when you have the EI, right? Or EQ, you are thinking before you're reacting, right? You're super self-aware, and it's like, this is why you're able to take responsibility. This is how you're able to move forward after you make a mistake. This is how you're able to say no and not feel guilty about it. You can solve different problems. You can have empathy. You're a great listener. You know why you do the things that you do, and you're not, this is a big one, and this is what I feel like I really need to leave you on, is you're not judgmental. You're not judgmental. You're not in woe is me, right? But you're not judgmental on somebody else. You're not judgmental because they did something different than you would. You're not judgmental because they didn't respond as you would have. You're not judgmental. You are able to identify what does and does not work for you, what does and does not align with you, and you're able to give somebody space and grace because they're on a different part of their journey in their life. But you're not going to judge them and think that they're less than, that they need to be doing more with their life, that you can project your expectations on them. Like, this is how you know. So again, let's not call it judgment, call it observation. So if you're sitting in observation and you realize a situation may not serve your best and highest good, now it's up to you to decide how you want to respond to that. But do you see how you're taking ownership of it? And that is how you know you're developing that emotional intelligence. And with that will come self-confidence. And again, it's the chicken and the egg. It's not like this comes and then everything else comes. It's kind of and they kind of like hit at different times, but then there will be that time that you might be like, oh my God, it's kind of coming together. It might be 10 years from now. It might be 20 years from now. It might be 5 minutes, but you'll start seeing it. And with that will come self-love. With that will come the boundaries. With that will come the ability to distance from relationships or situations that do not serve you and accept that you may not serve other people. And sometimes people have to distance from you, but you're not taking that personal. You're not like, what's wrong with me? You're not making this about you. So I think that's a really good place. So you know kind of what you want to strive for. And, it's going to be, there's no easy way, I'm going to tell you. Your consistent actions will give you consistent results, but that means you're showing up for yourself when you don't feel like doing it. You're showing up for yourself. You're trying to lean into your weaknesses. That's a big one. Lean into those challenges. Embrace that. Don't judge it. Don't say, I hate this about me. Just go, okay, well, what can I do to alleviate the stress in which that's causing me? So that right there, I will leave you with, because I know that you are capable. And yeah, I cannot wait to see your growth in your journey. And that growth and journey goes forward, goes backwards, goes forward, goes backwards. There is no direct shot. There's no such thing as getting there easily, quickly, or in one direction.
Check it out.